All right, Alyssa, I think we're good to go ahead and get started if you want to go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Alyssa Torrance. I am the Communications and Outreach Manager for CLARB, and we are so glad that you could join us today. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Sean, if you don't mind going to the next slide, please.
Yep.
So we will have everyone on mute for the most part, just to kind of reduce some of the background noise. But we do welcome your questions throughout the presentation. You can use the Q&A feature in Zoom, and you can also use the chat to interact with any of the other attendees. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to share via the chat where you're from and where you are in the licensure process. We'd love to hear. Another note, this event is being recorded, and we will be sharing the event recording with you afterwards. It'll be on YouTube, and we'll also be sending it to you by email. And we also have closed captioning available. All right, next slide. So I am excited today to introduce you to CLARB's support team. So today we have Sean, and then we also have Lindsay pictured here. She's actually manning the phones right now, so she could not be with us. But these are the CLARB team members that you want to know. So they will be your go-to resource throughout the licensure process, and you can think of Sean and Lindsay as your advocates. They are in your corner, they are answering any questions that you have, and they are helping you to succeed on your path to licensure. Let's see, Sean, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and something that you think that candidates should know about the licensure process?
Yeah, totally. Thank you, Alyssa. So my name is Sean Menifee. I am a record service and exam program coordinator here at CLARB. So I work directly with the exam writing committee as a staff liaison, but I also work here on the front lines with candidates like yourself to guide you through the path of licensure. I've been here for a little bit over 3 years, and I would say my expertise is going to be licensure. So, throughout the process, if you have any questions as far as your schooling, what state that you want to pick, if there's experience requirements that you need to meet, or the path once you get licensed, becoming get licensed as reciprocal licensure, we can also help you out there. I would say the thing to know is that CLARB is here to support you. So any questions that you have when it comes to the LARE, licensure, reciprocity, volunteer opportunities for CLARB or in the landscape architect community, we would be the people that you speak to in order to, kind of pursue the right pathways. So feel free to reach out to me directly or Lindsay directly, or you can call the front line and get either one of us if you have any questions in regard to licensure.
Great, thanks, Sean. So let's hit the agenda real quick. So today we are going to cover who CLARB is and how we support licensure. We will touch on what licensure is and why it's important that you become licensed. We will cover how to navigate the licensure process, and then about the exam, that's the LARE, and how you can get started on your path to licensure. Okay, so first of all, let's just talk about some of the terms that you'll hear us throwing around today. So CLARB is the Council of Landscape Architectural Registration Boards, but we think CLARB is a lot more fun to say, so we use CLARB for shorthand. The LARE, that's the Landscape Architect Registration Exam, and this is the exam that's required for licensure. So some people pronounce it Larry or Lair, and I go with LARE, spelling it out. The council record, so this is an online verified record of your exam, work, and education history, and it's located all in one place, and you use this in support of your licensure application. It's similar in nature to an online portal, or I'm sorry, an online profile that houses all of your information that you use to get licensed. Jurisdiction, this is the term that we use to describe the location in which you may get licensed. So CLARB's members are located in the states, territories, districts, and provinces across North America. And the licensing or registration board is the governing entity within a jurisdiction that actually issues the licenses. Okay, so let's start by sharing a little bit about CLARP. Okay, so we work to protect the public's health, safety, and welfare by establishing and promoting professional standards. Our members are the licensure boards across the United States and Canada that I mentioned just a minute ago. So we prepare, administer, and score the LARE, and that assesses the ability of prospective licensees to protect the public's health, safety, and welfare. We also manage a professional information system called the CLARP Council Record, and that's where landscape architects will document and verify their education, experience, and exam and licensure history. The record helps reduce barriers to mobility, which is practicing in other jurisdictions, by streamlining the initial and reciprocal licensure processes. And we'll get into that a little bit more later. We also work to defend landscape architectural licensure in support of protecting the public's health, safety, and welfare. And you'll hear us throw that around a lot. We use the acronym HSW for short. So health, safety, and welfare is definitely something that's always top of mind for us. And then we also serve as advisors to candidates and licensees, that's you guys, as you navigate your path to licensure. We are here to support you. Okay, so you might be wondering right now, how is CLARP different from ASLA or my jurisdiction's regulatory board? And we'll get a little bit more into the full process for licensure, but it is important to note the differences between CLARP, ASLA, and your licensure board. Okay, so your regulatory board is a state agency. They issue the license and they are responsible for enforcement in their jurisdiction. CLARB, we are an association of those regulatory boards, and we develop resources that help in the licensure process. We'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. And then ASLA, or the Canadian counterpart, CSLA, those are also associations, but their members are the landscape architects or other individuals who are interested in the profession of landscape architecture. So these are the professional societies that offer resources to you as a professional within landscape architecture. Okay, so let's just do a little quick recap. So CLARB, we support licensure boards by developing the exam for licensure. We provide the verified applicant information through the council record. We advocate for licensure at the jurisdictional and federal level, and we support candidates and licensees with the information resources to navigate the path to licensure. ASLA and CSLA are the professional societies that advocate for the profession at the jurisdictional and federal level, and they develop professional resources like exam preparation materials, continuing education courses, and professional networking opportunities. So neither CLARB nor ASLA actually issue your license. That is what's done by the licensure board in each state, territory, and province. You can find more information on each licensure board on the CLARB website. And let's see. This search will work for any jurisdiction in North America where you are seeking licensure. Many times on the page, you'll find links that direct you back to CLARP for more information on the exam, but you'll also find more information about how to apply for licensure within that jurisdiction on that board's website. Okay, and I am going to throw it over to Sean to talk a little bit about licensure in general.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Before we do get started with the next portion of the presentation, I did want to see if there were any questions that anyone had before moving forward. I know that's a lot of information kind of being dumped on you at one time. You're going to get a lot more information out of the next half of this presentation. So I wanted to give you a chance to be able to throw your questions into the chat if you had them. And if not, then we can continue to move forward. And at the end, we will stop for questions as well. So I'll just give it a second to see if anything comes up. And then if not, we'll go ahead and move forward. All right, looks like we have one question come up. Are all professional licensing structures this complicated? So I can't really speak to other professions, but I will say that most of them you're going to go through kind of the same process. You're going to go through your degree. You're going to go through the experience that you need. You're going to need to pay the fees in order to get licensed. You're going to deal with your jurisdictional specific exams if they have any. So I think I can't say for certain that it's this difficult. There are going to be easier pathways towards licensure, but there definitely are similar steps that you have to take in order to become licensed. Um, I had another question come in. It says, does a government agency oversee or fund CLARB? No, a government agency does not oversee or fund CLARB.
And I'll just add in, we are a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
We're a 501(c)(6).
Thank you, Alyssa. All right, if there's no other questions, then I am going to go ahead and move forward. So we're just going to talk a little bit about licensure. We'll go into the exam itself, and so on and so forth. So about licensure, again, like Alyssa said before, it's what's really most important about licensure is being able to protect the health, safety, and welfare, or short HSW, of the public. It is required in all 50 states, the United States, the District of Columbia, 4 Canadian provinces, Puerto Rico, and the Northern Mariana Islands. And then license is issued by your licensing board and your jurisdiction. So again, I think it's very important to keep in mind that CLARB is not the individual or the entity that issues your license. We are we're going to be who you take the LARE through. We're going to be licensing advisees to help you through the process, but also we have volunteer opportunities that you can take advantage of within the landscape architect community. So some examples of practice is going to be allocation of land and water resources, formulation of feasible studies, preparation of master plans, determination of improvements, and design of landforms. So in this next part, there are going to be a lot of questions that come up on why get licensed. There's individuals that they don't go through the process of getting licensed. Maybe they work under a landscape architect, and they have people sign off on their drawings and they don't ever have to pursue licensure. So these are just going to kind of answer some of those questions for you. So the first one is going to be personal development. Employers are looking for landscape architects who are licensed or on the path to licensure. Licensure shows a commitment to the professional development and demonstrates leadership. So I think this one speaks a little bit for itself, but also in your path to licensure, I think it's going to be great to maybe speak to whatever company you're pursuing and getting licensed and see if they will help you through the path of licensure. So we see a lot of times that you'll have companies that will help or pay for the exam. They'll also help or pay for your council record. They will also help or pay for study materials that you need. So I think it's very important when you're looking at where you're going to be in your profession that you speak to, whatever company it is that you pursue and see how it is that they can, help you pursue your path to licensure. Expertise, only licensed LAs can stamp drawings, and depending on where you practice, only a licensed landscape architect can be in charge of a firm in private practice. So again, you kind of got to decide whether you want to be the person that's stamping the drawings, or if you're going to have to work under someone that is going to be stamping the drawings, or if it's going to be maybe an engineer or an architect that comes and has to do your work. If you're a licensed LA, that is not something you will need to do. You will be able to do that stuff yourself. For respect, clients, licensed professionals in other fields, and public respect licensed landscape architects. So again, you'll be working alongside engineers, you'll be working alongside architects, surveyors, as well as planners. So I think this is just a way to kind of even the playing field when you are working alongside these individuals in the field. Opportunity, being licensed provides greater opportunity for your career. You can become a specialist, establish your own business, or become an independent consultant. I will say here on the front line, dealing with a lot of people that are pursuing licensure, or they are licensed and they want to pursue licensure in other states. This provides an opportunity for you to kind of pick the way that you want your career to go. So I see a lot of people that get licensed and then maybe they pursue license in another state. So it gives you the chance to have the options to move around if you would like to. It gives you the chance to run your own business. And there's always going to be career advancement with getting licensed. And then you have companies that are going to be looking for individuals that are licensed, so that you may pique their interest a little bit more. Financials, having a license mean you can earn higher pay. Again, I think this is one that can go without being said. The pay difference between being licensed and, not licensed, I'm sure I can't pinpoint how much it is, but I would say that you're probably going to earn a little bit more being able to stamp drawings or even running your own firm. Mentorship, becoming licensed provides opportunity to mentor graduates on their path to licensure, providing professional and personal enrichment. So I think with this one, this speaks to where you want to see landscape architecture in the future. I think you, as a licensed individual, kind of mentor these individuals that are coming in to the landscape architecture world and kind of show them the right way to do things. So I think that it's going to be very big to have people that essentially have some skin in the game to be able to prove to the new candidates that are coming in that this is the way that you should do things, and always keeping health, safety, and welfare in mind. Equal status to architects and engineers. Licensure is a professional differentiator. So again, you're going to be working next to architects, engineers, surveyors, and planners as well. And so I think it's just puts you on an even playing field with all these individuals. Higher potential to progress to a leadership role in your profession. A lot of times we do see that an individual gets licensed and then they are either at the top of the firm or they start to run their own firm. And in more ways to practice, you have the ability to pursue your professional interests in your own terms. So I think it speaks to being able to open your own firm, maybe jump around to different jurisdictions if you would like to. But it really just gives you the option to kind of pursue your career in the way that you want to. So how to get licensed. Let's see here. Sorry about that. So the first step is going to be to obtain a bachelor's or master's degree in landscape architecture. This is not the only way that you can pursue licensure. This is going to be the most straightforward way, regardless of the state that you are choosing to become licensed in. There's always that most states, most jurisdictions have alternative pathways. It may just be that you need more experience in order to pursue licensure in that jurisdiction. If you have maybe a non-accredited LA degree, or you have an engineer degree, or you have an architecture degree, or maybe you have a degree in some other field. This is the most straightforward way, but there are alternative pathways to licensure. Most states are want to see some type of degree. The next step is going to be to begin the exam process. So depending on the state that you are picking, if you're picking a state that is not a pre-approval state, once you have an accredited landscape architecture degree, you can start testing when the test is offered. If you pick a state that is a pre-approval state, and we'll get a little bit more into the difference between the two, you will actually need to have your degree as well as experience that that state requires you to have before taking the exam. And with pre-approval, that means that you send your education and you send your employment history to the state or jurisdiction or province of your choice. And then they will let you know if you are to sit and take the LARE or not. And just so you do know, you will need to start a council record in order to take the exam. So we do, for emerging professionals, we do charge $160 for you to start the exam. An active record is needed, so you will need to start that regardless if your state is a pre-approval or not before you can start taking the LARE. And throughout the process of taking the LARE, you will need to have your record active. So gaining experience. When you're gaining experience, In regulated practice, this essentially is the experience that you're going to want to be gaining. These are essentially your 4 exams that you will be taking. So inventory analysis and project management, planning and design, construction documentation and administration, grading, drainage, and stormwater management. So when that time does come that you do start pursuing a job, I would, ask these questions. Am I going to have exposure to this? Am I going to have exposure to that? Yes, you may get some of this exposure throughout the process of, school, but also hands-on experience with this would also be great because this may be something that you're doing right after school. Maybe you wait a little bit before taking the exam and you gain this experience so that you feel a little bit more comfortable with taking the exams uh, that are listed here. So I think it's very important for you to go through kind of this questionnaire whenever it is that you're looking for a position to see if you're going to get exposure to this type of experience under a licensed landscape architect. And then in closure, applying for licensure, you're going to want to check off these 3 boxes. You're going to want to make sure that you have the education. You're going to want to make sure that you have the examination, so all 4 steps of the exam, and then the experience that is needed. So for jurisdictions or provinces or states that are not pre-approval states, the only thing that you're going to need is your education. That's the only proof that you're going to need in order to take the LARE. In the meantime, you can work towards gaining the experience or gaining the experience before you start taking the LARE, but that experience will be needed before you can actually apply for initial licensure. So for example, I think if you look at like California, for example, they're a pre-approval state. The only thing you need to be pre-approved, which is not the only way, but the only thing you would need if you have an accredited landscape architecture degree, you will be approved to take all 4 sections of the exam. But when it comes to licensure, you will need to have passed the LARE. You will need the degree. You will also need 2 years of experience directly related to landscape architecture, with one of those years being under the direct supervision of a licensed landscape architect. So you can take the exam, gain that experience throughout the process, and then move forward with getting licensure.
Hey, Sean, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat that's related to this. So Ria she's an exam candidate in California.
Okay.
She's paid her application fee. She has her education verified and her employment are verified. Sorry, I'm saying she, I don't know what your preferred pronouns are, I apologize. But what is the next step to get pre-approved?
So the next step is to actually apply for pre-approval. So you can do that directly with the LATC, or you can do that through CLARB with a CLARB council record. I will say that a CLARB council record, again, is needed in order for you to start taking the LARE, and we do not charge for you to apply for pre-approval. So if you've already started the steps to get this information verified in your record, then I would recommend you applying for pre-approval through CLARB, and that essentially initiates a transmittal and tells us that you need your information sent to the state board in order for them to review it for letting you know if you're gonna meet qualifications to be pre-approved or not. And then the process after that, you will still have a board application with the LATC. It's just kind of giving them the basic information so that they can match your council record to you yourself. And then they will let you know, as well as CLARB know, when it is that you've been pre-approved to take the exam. And once you do get that letter of approval, you'll have, depending on when it is, you'll just have to wait until we administer the exams, which is going to be 3 times a year, which we'll go a little bit further into that later on in the presentation. So I think for you, in your case, if your employment and your education are verified, you have a council record, your next step would be actually applying for pre-approval to the state of California. And then I see another question come up. It looks like, is it up to us to choose jurisdiction and which steps when starting a council record or before registering for the first exam? So you will need to choose a jurisdiction that you're going to test in before you can start taking your exams. That's going to be one of the first questions that you're asked when you go through the process of getting registered, is what is the jurisdiction that you want to test in. So we're going to have to make sure that it's either a pre-approval or non-pre-approval jurisdiction, and we need to make sure that you meet those requirements in order to start testing for that jurisdiction. So it will be up to you to decide whether or not, or where it is that you're going to start testing. You don't necessarily have to continue to test all throughout all of your exams in that jurisdiction that you first pick. We know that sometimes you move from, things happen, and maybe you move to another jurisdiction. Depending on if that jurisdiction is a pre-approval state or not, will depend on what the steps you have to take in order to transfer that information over to another state or jurisdiction or province. So I hope that does answer your question. And which step, picking the state's first step. That's what you have to do, besides, getting your education and everything. Deciding on the jurisdiction is going to be, how you decide what are the next steps that you have to take towards pursuing licensure. Um, how does the layer differ from licensure? So the layer is, again, this is going to be an exam that you have to take in order to become licensed in all 50 states, Northern Mariana Islands, any Canadian provinces. You're going to need to take the layer in order to get licensed. Now, there's going to be different jurisdictions that may have a supplemental exam or a state exam, which that's going to be specific to that state. The LARE is a universal exam. And so that will need to be the exam that you take in order to pursue licensure, no matter where you pick within the North America. And you may have different exams throughout California. I think California may have a state exam. I believe Georgia, Florida, there's a couple of them that have state specific exams that you need to take. Let's see. What if your school is not accredited? How is that process different? And so, because your school is not accredited or you don't have an accredited landscape architecture degree, regardless of the jurisdiction that you pick or province that you pick, you have to apply for pre-approval. So that just means that you get your degree, you have it verified, you get however much experience that you have, you get that verified, and then you send that to the jurisdiction, state board, or province that you're wishing to apply to. And then they're going to let you know what is needed in order for you to get licensed. If there's more specific questions about how much experience is needed, you can reach out to me or anyone here on the front line to give you more specific answers on exactly what's needed. But regardless of the jurisdiction or province that you pick, you will need to apply for pre-approval because your degree is not an accredited landscape architecture degree. So it's not much of a different process. It's just not as straightforward as having the accredited landscape architecture degree, taking the exam, getting the experience. You may just need more experience, or you have to apply for pre-approval to a state that might not necessarily be pre-approval if you have an accredited landscape architecture degree. Let's see. I began taking my exams in Delaware due to the timing of PA's pre-approval requirements and an unruly 2-month delay from the state office. I had enough experience, but they required more time to process than would have allowed me to register. I've passed the first 2 exams in Delaware and registered for the third. What is the best avenue for gaining my licensure in PA? Should I continue through Delaware or initial licensure or transfer, or switch to PA at some point before completing the exams? I know some friends that relocated halfway through. It's unclear. So that is up to you. Regardless, if you wanted to start testing for PA, you would need to be approved by PA. So if you started in Delaware and they have not approved you yet, you could pursue licensure in Delaware. And then once you become licensed in Delaware, just apply for reciprocity in the state of Pennsylvania. If you were kind of stuck on, hey, I really want to just continue pursuing it in Pennsylvania, you just have to make sure that you get approval from Pennsylvania first before continuing to take the exams. Essentially, they want to be able to tell you, yes, like we approve you to be able to test, we approve you for the LARE, and they will accept your exams as long as you're approved. If for some reason you weren't approved, then you're just going to have to pursue licensure in Delaware and then apply for reciprocity in Pennsylvania. Either way, because Delaware is not a pre-approval state, if you have an accredited landscape architecture degree, obviously you can just take the exams there. But for Pennsylvania, regardless if you wanted to switch over there or not, you would have to be approved by them first before you can start testing for that jurisdiction. So for you, it's kind of going to be preference, but it seems like maybe pursuing licensure in Delaware and then applying for reciprocity in Pennsylvania is going to be the avenue that may be a little bit easier for you, but that's going to be your preference. Is there a resource that shows all of the states that require a state-specific exam? So I would say just give us a call, reach out to me directly. I don't know them off the top of my head. We do have, some information on the back end that should be able to tell you if they have a state-specific exam or not. And you can always reach out to your jurisdictional board and speak with them about the state exam.
And if I could just jump in, we are in the process of upgrading our website. We'll be completely redoing it over the next year or two. And we are looking at better ways to explain and display the requirements for each of the jurisdictions. And so I've already made a note. I think this would be something that would be really helpful. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, totally, totally. These are all great questions, so please keep them coming in. I don't mind just continuing to answer these. We don't have that many slides left, so I can go ahead and continue to answer these. And if it gets to be that they pile up a little bit, maybe we'll just push them towards the end, okay? Um, so it says, do you have data on how long after graduation it takes most people to become licensed? So that's really going to be your preference, whether you start right after graduation or if it's going to be that you start after getting some experience and taking the LARE. Maybe you take the LARE and you pass all four sections, your first try. Maybe it takes a couple tries. So really, it's going to be on your preference how comfortable you feel taking the exams right after graduation. There's people that take it right after graduation, as well as people that wait some time to gain experience and then take the LARE. So really, you're going to kind of move at your own pace when it comes to becoming licensed after graduation.
And I'll just add on to that. Something that I responded with Sean is we do have research that shows that once you do start taking a section of the exam, it typically takes about a year and a half to complete all four sections. So I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, thank you for throwing that out. Let's see, the pre-approval first section. Yeah, so for Michael, for you, yes, you would need to get pre-approval if you wanted to take your fourth section in PA and pursue initial licensure in PA. If you wanted to take all four exams in Delaware, but then still apply for initial licensure in PA, it's going to be the same thing. You still have to be approved by PA before you can apply for either initial licensure or taking the fourth exam. I assume my exam results from the ones taken in Delaware are still valid if I go that route. Yes, they should still be valid as long as you're approved by the state board. So for Hugo, I understand some jurisdictions ask for a period of time before being able to test. Can you clarify? So that's just going to be your pre-approval jurisdictions or state. So those states are, regardless of your degree, is going to want some type of experience before taking the exam. The only one that I can think that is just the accredited LA degree applying for pre-approval is going to be California. They don't need any experience. Texas, I want to say 6 months. Georgia is no longer pre-approval. Sorry. Pennsylvania, I believe they're maybe 18 months. Maryland, they need experience beforehand. So it really just depends on the jurisdiction that you need or that you want to test if you need experience before testing or not. Do you have to take all four sections at once or are they offered separately? So you can take as many exams as you want within a window. So there's a 2-week window that you can test. You cannot take more than one exam per day, but you could take all four sections within that 2-week window if you choose to. So it's going to be, you got that 2-week time frame. If you wanted to take all four, you can. If you want to take one in each administration, you could. 2, you could take. Really, it's you moving at your own pace. We do not say, hey, you have to take them in this order, or this is when you need to take them. Are there any grant resources that may offer financial help to take the exam? So I would recommend maybe reaching out to ASLA. I think Alyssa may be able to talk a little bit more to any grants or any support that you can have for licensure.
Yeah, so actually, I dropped those into the chat. So ASLA
Oh,
has their Women of Color licensure advancement program, I believe. I may have gotten that acronym wrong. It's WCLAP, I believe. NAMLA, that's also another source of scholarships. I forgot Blacklan, BLACKLAN, and then Inova Furnishings, I believe, has a very generous scholarship program that they do every year. So definitely take a look at those.
perfect. Thank you, Alyssa. And sorry if I'm duplicating some of the stuff you're saying. I'm just trying to keep up with the chat here. For what exam do you see having the highest and lowest rates of passing? We do have that information on the website, so you can see how each section did each administration. So I would recommend visiting the website, and we do have the pass rates on there if that's what you're going to use to kind of decide on which exams you want to start with. You cannot take two exams in one day. One exam per day is correct. Yes. So it looks like I see three more questions here. I'm going to answer those. And then for the sake of time, I'm going to move on to the rest of the presentation. And then if any more come in at the end, we'll go ahead and answer those. Um, May I know if I could change my jurisdiction before I become fully licensed? For example, for Toronto to New York, would my work experience in Toronto be able to transfer in such case to Toronto, or would my work experience in Toronto be able to transfer to New York? So yes, to my knowledge, there is not one jurisdiction that says you need to have the experience in that jurisdiction in order to have your experience count. So if you gained all your experience in Toronto, but you want to pursue licensure in New York, you're going to be fine with doing that. As long as you meet their experience requirements, you do not need to have that experience in that direct jurisdiction or province. Um, I got an email reminder saying that I need a verification from my previous supervisor. Should I contact my previous supervisor to let him verify immediately, or can I leave this until I pass the exam and get licensed in the end? So I will say for that, it really just depends. If you entered in that information, it may not be that you need that information right now if you're already taking the exams. I would say that I wouldn't worry too much about it right now because with CLARB in most states, we're going to want to see your employment verified within the last 3 months. And if you don't pass the exam within the next 3 months, we're going to need you to get that information re-verified anyway. So I would say I wouldn't press too hard on getting that verified right now unless you're towards the end of maybe you're going to test in April and be done in April. And then let's see, if you do not pass first time around, how many times can you retake it before having to pay again? So you have to pay each time you take it. You pay the fee of $525 each time you want to take it, even if it's the same section. So if you take one and you fail it, you pay $525 again and again and again, and so on and so forth until you pass. So one payment does not pay for, unlimited tries. All right, so I got through those three questions. I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the presentation, and then feel free to keep putting questions in the chat, and we'll address those once we get towards the end. Okay, so a little bit about the exam. The exam is a seal of protection. If a licensure candidate passes each section of the exam, that individual possesses the minimum competency to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. I think it's very important to note that really the exam is going to be to protect the health, safety, and welfare. You're going to see that a lot. You're going to see HSW. You're going to see that with continuing education credits that you have to take to maintain licensure. So that is definitely going to be the main thing that you're focusing on when it comes to being licensed is to be able to protect the health, safety, and welfare. A competency measure, the Landscape Architect Registration Examination, LARE for short, determines whether applicants for landscape architecture licensure possesses sufficient knowledge, skills, and ability to provide services without endangering the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Again, HSW, you're going to see it all over the place. And then required successful completion of the Landscape Architecture Registration Examination, LARE, is required to become licensed in the entire North America. So if you want to pursue licensure, if you want to call yourself a licensed landscape architect, you will have to take the LARE in order to do so. As we spoke before, this is going to be the 4 sections of your exam here. So when I say to gaining experience, this is where you really want to focus your areas of experience because this is the exams that you're going to be taking. Yes, you're learning this information in school, but also gaining the experience throughout licensure is going to be great. So you have inventory and analysis and project management. You have planning and design, construction documentation and administration, grading, drainage, and stormwater management. And I do want to note, even though we have these in this order, there is no order for you to take the exam. You do not have to start with inventory and analysis. You can start with planning and design. You can start with grading, drainage, and stormwater management. We used to have sections 1, 2, 3, and 4, but even when they were numbered that way, you did not have to take those in that order. So feel free to test with what you're comfortable with. Start where you want to, take as many exams as you want at a time. You can take planning and design and grading and stormwater management. It's really going to be your preference. You do not have to take them in any specific order. And this is going to be your subdomains within inside the exam. So inventory and analysis and project management, you have 100 items. I'm not going to jump through each and every one of them since we have them here on the screen. But then you have planning and design, which is 95 items. You're going to have construction, documentation, and administration that has 100 items, and grading, drainage, and stormwater management which has 80 items. I will say that we do, as of the last administration, have a new feature on the website, which is going to be your exam snapshot. And this is going to show you when you take the exam, if you were to fail, if you pass, you will not get any information on how well you did or how much you passed by. But if you fail, it will tell you how well you did in each one of these domains. So when that time comes, if you do fail, you will have a snapshot on the website that shows you maybe the areas of focus that you need to moving forward when it comes to studying. And also, the subdomains in the exams can also be found in the orientation guide that is on the CLARB website as well, in case you need to look back to this and focus on that. So when is the exam offered? So you can register for all four sections of the LARE in April, August, and December. So we have a 2.5 months before these windows come up. So you get a good bit of time to decide which exam you're going to take, where it is that you're going to take it, and so that you can study and prepare appropriately. Where is the exam offered? So we are with PSI Testing Center, but you can also take this from your home office. So if you want to test in a brick and mortar, you can do so if you have one that's convenient enough to get to, or if you feel more comfortable with getting to a brick and mortar, then you can do that. If you want to take it from your home office or maybe some area where you will not be disturbed for about 3 hours, 3.5 hours at a time, you can choose to do that as well. But you can take all four sections in either one of those of your choice. So the April administration is open now. These are going to be your dates for the April administration. You do have until March 25th to get registered, but that is also the deadline to cancel your registration if you choose not to. Maybe you signed up and you didn't want to. Your August dates are there as well. Registration opens mid-May. We don't give an exact date because it really just depends on when scores will be released, but you can count on it being sometime in mid-May. And then you also have December dates up there with registration opening up somewhere around mid-September as well. And where do you want to work when you get licensed? So again, this brings us to the map. This is our eligibility map here on the CLARB website. So to touch back on, I think there was a question that came up on how you choose your jurisdiction or what jurisdiction you want to. I think it's important to know what is needed from your jurisdiction when you go to choose the jurisdiction. So your states and provinces here in green are going to be your non-pre-approval states. So that means that if you wish to become licensed in that state and you have an accredited landscape architecture degree, you do not need pre-approval from the state before you start testing. So simply all you need is your accredited landscape architecture degree. You need an active council record. And when that time comes, when registration is open or the exams are offered, you can sign up and take these exams. The states that are in yellow, they are going to be your pre-approval states. So this means regardless of the degree that you have, you will need to apply for pre-approval to the state before you can start testing. So for example, again, like I said earlier about California, you will need an accredited landscape architecture degree. That's just the basic pathway with no experience in order to start taking the exam and be approved by the jurisdiction or state board first. Texas, they do require some experience. So you'll need your accredited landscape architecture degree with 6 months of experience under a licensed landscape architect in order to be approved to take the LARE. And then, of course, if you do not have an accredited landscape architecture degree, regardless of the jurisdiction or state that you select, you will need to apply to that jurisdiction or state or province before being able to take the exam. And then the states that are in gray, they're currently not members with CLARB. So I believe, Alyssa, you cannot pursue licensure in those jurisdictions, correct?
Not sure.
Okay, yeah, I'm almost certain that in those jurisdictions, which it looks like it's only about 2 or 3, that you will not be able to actually sign up with them. And then let's move on to the next here. So how do you prepare? CLARB, ASLA, and Canadian Landscape Architect licensing groups provide a variety of sources to help you kickstart the LARE prep. So we actually do have a new feature on the website, and that's going to be the practice exams. That is for all 4 sections of the exam. And so you can go in and take a practice exam for the purchase of $25. It gives you 3 attempts of taking a 50-question exam that relates to the exam that you are going to be taking or that you purchase. Demo exams and YouTube videos, we have access to those on the website, so you can go on and practice that way. Orientation guide, we have that as well on the website. We have the recommended reading list, as well as ASLA is a great resource for you to find study groups, other reading materials that help you prepare for the exam. And then what's next? So continue your path to licensure. As I stated before, once you get licensed in one jurisdiction, that doesn't mean that that's the end of the road for you. You can apply for licensure in other jurisdictions for reciprocity. I will say that regardless of you being licensed, you will have to meet that state's requirements. So let's just say, for example, in California, they need 2 years of experience total, with 1 year being under a licensed landscape architect. But then you go to a state like New York, and New York will need maybe 4 years of experience under or 4 years of experience directly related to landscape architecture, with 2 of those years being under a licensed LA. So regardless of you being licensed or not yet, you will have to meet that jurisdiction's requirements in order to get licensed. CLARB certification. So CLARB certification is a way that CLARB recognizes you and basically states that we believe that you are competent enough to be able to get licensed in all 50 states or jurisdictions in North America. So being able to put CLARB certification next to your name is something that people pursue, as well as we can send you a physical copy if that's something that you wish to do as well. And then the volunteer opportunities, as I said, we have many volunteer opportunities, on the website, but also that you can do with CLARB, like down to the exam writing committee, the member board executive committee. There's quite a few that are on the board website that you can look into. We do send out a call to volunteer when that time comes that we do new volunteers. So if that's something that you're looking towards pursuing, then just make sure that your communication preferences allow us to send emails to you, and we will make sure that you get that information when it is time. So in closing, licensure is a formal legal recognition that an individual has demonstrated sufficient knowledge, skills, and abilities to practice without endangering the health, safety, and welfare of the public. To be licensed affords you equal status with other design professionals, opens up professional doors, and gives you the flexibility in choosing how to practice the discipline. Register for and take the exam as soon as you are ready. I think that was very important. Everyone has their own life experiences. Some people, again, take the exam right after college. Some people wait some time, gain experience, and then take the exam. You really have to choose what pace that you want to move when it comes to licensure. And then CLARB is here to help you through every step of the exam and licensure process. So from the time that maybe you're just finishing up your degree and you have questions about a certain jurisdiction, we can help you with that. If you're through the path, you're taking the LARE, we can support with that. And then obviously when it comes to licensure, many other things that come to landscape architect, we can help you with that as well. So please feel free to utilize us, as we are a licensed citizen advocate.
Thanks, Sean. So
Yep.
as Sean mentioned, the CLARB support team, our amazing support team, they are here to help you. They're available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. And they are standing by to answer any questions you may have. As you can tell from some of the questions that we've had, everyone's path to licensure is kind of unique. And so definitely feel free to reach out to the support team at any time if you have questions about kind of next steps for you. And be sure to follow us on social. And then let's go to the next slide. So just one more reminder, there is still time to register to take a section of the exam next month. Registration closes on Monday, March 25th. And so that is coming up quickly. So if you are planning to register, I would recommend that you go ahead and jump on that if you can. That way you have the most of the most opportunity to take the exam when it's convenient for you, and there are more appointments available the sooner that you register. And then just one final thing, before we head to questions, we do want to know what you thought of this survey. So, or I'm sorry, what you thought of this webinar. So take our survey. It's super quick. It's just a couple of questions, and we'll also include a link to the survey in the email that we send along with the recording. So yeah, we'd love to know what we can do better next time. And thanks again for joining us. And let's hit some of the questions that we received. Let's see here in the Q&A and the chat. Okay, Sean, how long will CLARB keep my council record active? Do I need to pay annually to keep my record?
Yes. So you will pay annually to keep your record. As far as I know, we will keep your record as long as we can. Everything is virtual now, so I can't see a reason why we would get rid of anyone's records. We have records that go back even as far as around 2000 when there were paper records. And so you will have to pay to keep your record active each year annually. But if you do happen to say, maybe I'm taking a break, maybe I can't afford, or maybe I, just don't want to take exams right now, you can let your record go inactive, and then we do charge a fee for you to reactivate again. So regardless of how long it is, what you'll pay is an annual renewal fee as well as a reactivation fee in order to get your record back up and active. We do not say, let's just say you take off 5 years. We don't say, okay, well, you need to pay the past 5 years. No, what you'll pay is your annual renewal fee on top of reactivation fee in order to become active again.
And Nicole is asking, what is the annual fee to maintain your council record?
So to start your record, it's going to be $170 as an emerging professional. To maintain your record as an emerging professional, it's going to be $160 a year. Once you become licensed to maintain the record, it's going to be $210 a year. And then right now, the reactivation fee is $135, but that is subject to change within 30 days. So depending on when it is that you may have to reactivate, that price could change, go up, go down, so on and so forth.
Another question related to that is, after you pass the exam, do you need to maintain your record?
So I think that question is very broad. I wouldn't say that you need to maintain it, but I think it's going to be considering where it is that you go within licensure. And if you're going to be applying for licensure in many other states, if you're going to be pursuing CLARB certification, if you want to call yourself CLARB certified, you will need to maintain your record. We do track CEUs for you, even though we don't send them to the state. We do give you a place to hold it. To hold it all in the same place, but then also gives you a way to kind of keep up with what CLARB's doing for the landscape architecture community, as well as if you want to volunteer within the landscape architecture community for CLARB. And so that can be a yes and no question. It really depends on you yourself and where you see yourself going within the landscape architecture community.
All right, Brandon had a couple of questions. Is there a maximum amount of time that you have to start and finish all sections of the exam?
So CLARB does not have a certain amount of time. If there is going to be anyone that tells you that you have a certain amount of time, it's going to be your jurisdiction. And to my knowledge, off the top of my head, I cannot think of any jurisdiction that tells you from the time you start, you have this amount of time. But I would just double check with any jurisdiction that you're going to test with that you ask them that directly. CLARB does not have a time frame on when you start and when you finish.
And then is there a waiting period before you can retake a section if you failed it?
Yes, you cannot retake a section until the next administration. So if you tested in April, you wouldn't know until somewhat after that administration is done anyway. We usually have around 6 weeks before exam scores come out. And so you wouldn't be able to even find out if you failed until the next administration anyway. But no, you could not, you would have to wait until the next administration to find out if you failed, as well as be able to retake that second exam if you had to.
Does CLARB have a recommendation for post-nominal letters to represent licensure? So PLA or RLA after their name?
I would go to your jurisdiction about that.
Great question, or great answer, and great question. Let's see. How do you access your record if it has been frozen for a few years?
You call CLARB and tell them that you would like to reactivate your record. You have to call in and speak with accounting in order to pay and get that reactivated. So if you just give us a call, then we can tell you what the price is to reactivate it and then give you access into the record again.
All right. Nicole wanted us to clarify that it's $525 US per section. That's correct.
Correct.
Stephen was asking, can we share how many licensed LAs are in the US and Canada? I am aware of about 20,000. Sean, does that sound right to you?
I'm not even gonna lie, I can't tell you exactly what that number is. If you want to reach out to me directly, I can go to my manager about that. I don't have the direct number or close to that number, to be honest.
Let's see. We have a couple of questions about questions on the exam.
Okay.
Can someone contest that if they feel like the question had multiple answers, or is there a way to get more information on the questions in the exam?
So you can write comments. There's comments on every question in the exam. If you feel that, maybe the question didn't make sense, or maybe the question should have had this answer and not that answer, or maybe you're questioning if the right answer is the right answer. I will say I work directly with the exam writing committee, and they do go over all comments. These are all licensed landscape architects that are working to create the exam. And so they're going over every comment, every question, and making sure that they believe what the right answer is the right answer, and also have resources to back that, the reason why the answer is up. And so if you do question any type of question that is on the exam, make sure that you make comments about that on the comment section, or reach out to CLARB and tell us what your concerns are, because that is something that we do bring up to the exam writing committee, and they review it to go over any of your questions or concerns that are on the LARE.
And speaking of those questions, Anthony had a question. So for each exam where we said that it's made up of 100 items, does one item equal one question? Is that what we're saying? An item is a question.
So I can't say for certain. I can get back to you if you don't mind just shooting me an email, and I will take that to my manager. I don't believe that it's one item equals one question based off of how the score is. But if you don't mind, maybe shoot me an email, and I will get in touch with my manager and tell you exactly how the point system is made up.
Okay. And Jonathan asked, do you need to get pre-approved before taking an exam, before you register to take it? Or is the pre-approval just for getting the license?
So the pre-approval depends on the degree and the jurisdiction, not on licensure. So if you're choosing a jurisdiction or a state that requires pre-approval, then yes, you need to be pre-approved before taking the LARE. If you don't have an accredited landscape architecture degree, then yes, you need to be approved before taking the LARE. If you have an accredited landscape architecture degree and you're choosing a jurisdiction that does not require pre-approval, you do not need pre-approval before taking the exam. You simply need your degree and an active council record in order to start taking the exam.
Okay, this is a question I've never come across before. If you have the required work experience and it's been verified on your council record in the past, do you need to add new employment if it's been a few years since the initial verification?
So that's also going to be dependent. It's going to depend on your jurisdiction. Some states do not require you to have your most recent employment verified, and they'll take the experience that you have post-graduation. But some states are going to want to see your most recent employment. CLARB would recommend that you have your experience since the time of graduation to current without any gaps longer than 3 months. Regardless if it's experience that's related to landscape architecture or not, it's always good to show exactly what you've been doing throughout your time, of getting your degree and so on and so forth. And my recommendation would say from the time of graduation to current, have whatever you've been doing, whether if it's unemployment, employment not related to landscape architecture, and obviously experience that is related to landscape architecture in your record without a 3-month gap. That's going to be the cleanest way to send your record off for licensure. And that's where we can essentially guarantee, as long as you meet the experience requirements, that it's going to be the easiest path to licensure.
Okay, it looks like we are just about out of time. Sean, are we able to stay on and answer questions, or should we follow up by email?
Yeah, I can answer a few more questions. I don't obviously if people have to log off, they can. I can hang on for a few more minutes. And then if there's questions that maybe you need more clarification or you didn't get to your question, feel free to reach out to me on the CLAR website directly.
Sounds good. Okay, we've got a question. What is the process for verifying self-employment?
So we do have an option when adding employment. So when you go to add employment, you would simply put yourself as the supervisor, and then there's going to be an option to ask if you're self-employed, and you will say yes. And that is it. You don't have to verify any of that information. You put it in there, you check that yes box, and that tells us that you are either the principal or you're self-employed, and we don't need anything further from you.
Okay, has the study material changed much due to the blueprint change?
They have been updated to match the blueprint. So I wouldn't say much. I would say that they've been updated to make sure that you have the correct reading material for each exam, whether it's a couple books or not. The material that you have is going to be most relevant in the domain that it is in.
Alicia, yes, this recording will be emailed to you, and it will also be posted to our website and our YouTube. So look for that in the next couple of days. Let's see. Do I need to have my education verified in my council record prior to booking an exam? And how do I get it verified?
So I wouldn't say that you need to if you have an accredited landscape architecture degree, but it's also good to have that information in your record. It is not required for you to have it verified before taking an exam. The way that you get it verified is reaching out to your school's registrar's office and have them send a direct copy to either a physical copy to either the address that's on our website or directly to info@clarb.org. I will say if you can get it done through email, send it through email. Snail mail it takes long. We don't get them, whatever the case may be. If you can send it through email to info@clarb.org, I recommend doing that.
Okay. Nicole has a question. So she's confused. So she's currently registered with the OALA in Ontario, but she wants to move to British Columbia, or Washington State. She's just not sure. Well, actually, yeah, Washington State jurisdiction. Sorry. She's wondering, does she have to maintain her council record, as she moves around? And, yeah, that's the question.
So
I'm trying to paraphrase.
I guess my question for you is, are you still pursuing licensure? Are you in the middle of taking the exams? Are you moving from did you say it was Ontario?
Mhm.
Are you moving from Ontario and you're already licensed and you want to move to Washington to and apply for reciprocal licensure? I mean, I think it really depends on where you are in the process. If you need to still take exams, then yes, you still need your record to be active. If you are applying for reciprocity, you probably have all the information you need in your record in order to apply for reciprocity. So maybe I would recommend having your CLARB record active. But if it's just you're just moving, you don't at any point in time have to maintain your record.
Okay. Let's see.
Before you move on to there, I did see a question that came in, and it was a question I believe Mary Ellis sent to me as well. So, given that the MLA degree is considered a non-accredited degree, if you choose New York State as my jurisdiction, how many years of related experience work do I need? And so, I would reach out to me directly again in regards to that. But before you know you're eligible for LARE, I will reach out to me directly, and I can give you the information that you need in order to pursue licensure in New York. New York's a little bit different. They actually go by units, so it's going to be your education. Your education is going to count for so many units. Your employment is going to count for so many units. So reach out to me directly. and I can give you a little bit more information on what's needed with a non-accredited LA degree, but you will need to apply for pre-approval to the state of New York before you can pursue licensure.
Okay, we had a question about the orientation guide. So we have subcategories under each exam section. Do we have definitions about the subcategories or any kind of explanation of those?
Not to my knowledge. I would say to look into the recommended reading, and whichever in those books that you see, that's going to pretty much give you the information that you need, all the information that you need in each one of those domains. So I'm not saying that you have to buy each one of those books. You should be able to buy one of those books, and it should cover all of that information that you need in those exams.
Okay, one of our last questions. If you get one answer incorrect from the multiple choice questions, as in you pick 3 of the 4 correct answers, do you get any partial points?
No, you're right or you're wrong.
All right, I think we have gotten to everyone's questions. So with that, we will wrap it up. Thanks again for joining us today. If we didn't get to your question, if we somehow missed it, please feel free to reach out and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And if you haven't already, please take a few moments to take the survey. Let us know what you think, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.